Hi, welcome to another Derek Does. Today, we're going to do this. Hi, welcome back to another Derek Does. Today, I'm going to show you how to change a timing belt on a vintage industrial sewing machine, particularly a Singer industrial sewing machine. The machine I'll be doing today is one I got last week, actually maybe 2 weeks ago, and it is a Singer 107W102, affectionately referred to as the Irish. If you watch my previous videos and you watch the 114W103, which was the chain stitch embroidery machine, this machine is basically the cousin to that. It's not a chain stitch, it's a lock stitch embroidery, but it does a different type of embroidery, whereas the 114W107 does the chain stitch names, or it does like the Letterman type thing. It can do the moss print where it's kind of soft and spongy of loops. This one does what I always kind of refer to, if you don't know what it means, if you know what a Vietnam tour jacket is, where they have the dragon and then the tour, this is the machine that does that. It makes a lock stitch. There's no feed dogs on it, so it makes a lock stitch, goes back and forth, and you can control the width of the machine with a foot or a knee lever. Goes back and forth, and so you can make thin lines to wide lines, and you can make it kind of do that as you go along, as it stitches along. I'll go into more detail once I get this machine all set up in the future, but right now I'm just going to show you how to change a timing belt. When I got this machine, the timing belt, well, it was on there, but this machine was so frozen that the moment I tried to turn the wheel, this old belt, this is the belt here, snapped. It's just, you can just tell this belt is original, and right there is where it snapped. So I ordered a new belt, and I ordered it from Sharps Sewing in Los Angeles. They actually sell a lot of stuff on eBay, and this turns out this was their last one. There's three types of belts on particularly a Singer sewing machine. There's this type of belt, which is a canvas material ropish thing, and then it has these metal bands that go up and down on it. And then you have a belt that's like a rubber belt, kind of like what's on your car, only instead of being smooth, it has little grooves built into it that will act as teeth for your machine. And then the early ones, you might find a machine that has a leather belt. Now those are older. To find one with a leather belt, you don't really want those because they're really difficult to get a leather belt made that's going to fit. And the big trouble with leather belts is they'll stretch. So it's better to have a rubber belt or one of these belts, which is just the canvas with the teeth, and you can kind of see that. See that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera around, and I'm going to show you what I've already done to the machine just to get it started, and then you can watch. And this is the same process. It's pretty much every Singer older machine like this, you can use it to change the belt, because a lot of times you'll buy a machine and it'll either have a broken belt or a completely missing belt. I was lucky that I knew what kind of belt was supposed to be in here because I still have the original. A lot of times I'll get a machine that nobody tells you, especially if you buy it kind of sight unseen. The belt will just be gone. The machine will still turn, but it doesn't control the bottom, because that's the whole point of the timing belt. Let's take a look, and I'm going to show you how to replace a timing belt. So here's the machine in question that I'm going to be working on. This is the 107W102. Again, I'll go into detail on this machine after I get this machine working, after it's all timed and everything, and I can show you how it sews. So every Singer machine is basically like this. It has, this is where your flywheel is, that goes to your leather wheel for your motor. And I took this out already, but I'm going to show you how to take this out. There is this piece that goes in here, and it actually fits like that. See how that groove is? That groove actually goes in like this, and it'll be kind of flush, but it'll kind of bump out. And then your actual wheel will go on the end of that. The oil here actually will drip into this big reservoir that has a little piece of kind of almost shoestring material that fits in there. And that kind of holds the oil so that it drips and it keeps this lubricated as it spins. Now on the back end, here you can see there's a screw. You have to undo this screw. You can take it out if you want to. You don't have to, but you can take it out just enough. And it actually fits into this groove. It slides into that groove. And then when you you can actually see right there. When this is in position, then you would tighten it up when you're done. Or if you haven't taken it out, it's held in there. That holds this in place, keeps it from spinning. You undo that. And then to take this out, what I do is I've found that a wooden dowel does a really good job. Now, a wooden dowel is softer than this. If you use a screwdriver, it will put marks and actually will dent up your this piece, and you don't want that. Now, it's kind of tough to get it into this little area because it's short, and you want to get it in there to pound this out. I'd also put a little oil, or you could put some WD-40, or you could try some penetration oil if that's what you like to use on this before you do it. Will help loosen this up. If it's really rusty, you may just have to buy another one of these and just pound it out because you're going to destroy it anyway. It's up to you. You can try either way. What I've done is discovered that if I move this is for the top where this is going to fit and hold on to it, there's two screws, and if you undo those just a little bit, you can slide this down. Now what I've done, as you can kind of see, is I marked here and here where it's supposed to be before it gets moved so I can move it back. So undo those two screws, slide this down, take your dowel, put it in there, and just whack it with a hammer. Not a huge hammer. I use just a little hammer like this so I don't get too much. And this will actually slide out. And once it slides out, you're good to go, because this is how you're going to get your timing belt over this, because there's no other way. It has to go through here, and then it's going to slide down, and at the bottom you'll see, here, let me show you. At the bottom, that's where the other part of the timing belt goes on. That's the bottom piece. Now, when I got this machine, that bottom piece was my main culprit. It would not spin at all. And the reason was not this, but actually down here. There's a whole rod down here that was just completely frozen. This is where the bobbin case and everything goes into. That was just completely messed up. But not messed up, but it was just frozen, completely solid. And I finally took it apart. I was able to get it out, oiled it up, and now it spins quite easily. You can actually hear it spinning down there. So now I've shown you, you're going to have to pull that out, pop it out. I put this back into position, tightened it up, and you'll have to put your flywheel back on so you can spin it, and then you have to tighten it up for you to do that. So now let's put the new timing belt on this. We're not going to time the machine. We're just putting the timing belt on, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get too close up because I have to use both hands for this. But you take your timing belt, your new one, and then you just kind of slide it in. And you want to get this. Now, these are much easier than the rubber ones. The rubber ones are a little more difficult because they don't have quite the give as these canvas ones. Sometimes they're a bit tricky to get in. It takes a while. And it's just that simple. It's in the grooves. Everything's great. Now we're going to flip this over. There we go. And we're going to take this timing belt. And we're going to try to slide it over this. Now, the trouble is getting it over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the bottom first. And then we're going to get it over the top. Now the rubber ones have a little more give to get it over that. I've got to figure out how to get this over that. I may not be able to get that over that. I might have to go from the bottom. Yeah, we're going to have to go from the bottom. I've never put on one of these canvas ones before. I've only done the rubber ones, and the rubber ones have some give. So we're going to take that off. We're going to put this off. We're going to put this over this one. It's in the grooves. It fits great. Close that up. And I think we're going to have to take this bottom one off. Put it over top of it, and then slide the whole thing on. So in that case, we're going to have to remove these screws to slide this out. So let's undo that. There's 2 screws. Usually there's 2 screws. Whenever there's on an old Singer, whenever there's a rod and one thing on it, it takes 2 screws to get it off. So it's kind of like a safety. That should. Is that going to pop off or not? Doesn't want to pop off. Let's give it a little tap. It does not want to come off. And that does not want to go on. But we've got to get it. Okay, that's one screw that came out. You know what it is? It's probably just on there so good. So we're going to give it a little oil. So that's the top one. And we'll take this one out. That's the bottom one. Give that a little oil. And we're just going to give it a little. They're starting to move now. I can feel it starting to move now. There we go. So there's a little bit of a groove there. I should have had that done before I began recording. This whole machine has just been so dry its whole life. And this rod doesn't really matter. This doesn't have an up or a down because there's no grooves or anything that the screws are going to go into. All right, so I'm going to put that on. We're going to try just to pull that down if we can. That is a tough one. All right, I've been messing with this a little bit. I was able to get the bottom part kind of on, but I think I need to put this piece on before we get much further because I think it's starting to bend a little bit. So we're going to just put this in. And again, you want to just slide that on. use a little screwdriver. Let me find my little one. That'll work. Just make sure it's in there. Roll that. And then we're going to tap this on. Make sure that's set up so that that smooth groove I showed you earlier I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on it since I'm tapping that in. And again, this type of capping isn't bad. It's not hurting it. And we're going to want to make sure that that piece is down. And it has a little bit of a groove, a little lip there, so you know when you're in all the way. And now we'll just tighten that up. Finish it up with this little bit thinner screwdriver. That's in there nicely. Give it a little bit of oil. And we're going to throw this guy on. Pretty sure it actually fits like that. See, that's kind of flush here at the end. We're going to tighten up this guy and tighten up this guy. And we're going to put the end piece on. There's always an end screw. And I've got a big giant screwdriver that I picked up somewhere that just seems to work really well for these big giant screws. It's a bit overkill, but it works really well. And we're going to tip this over now. And as you can see, I got this kind of on. What I'm trying to do is just let it naturally work its way over there. And I think I'm just going to keep giving it little taps with my little 2-ounce screwdriver. Stand up. And eventually, this will get slid on just through it, going around and around. And just so you know, a rubber belt is so much easier. There we go. Look at that. Straight on. So now we're going to put these 2 screws back in that we had taken out. This one goes on the bottom. Is it always this difficult? Sometimes. Sometimes it isn't. Again, a rubber belt is easier because a rubber has give, and this particular belt has no give. Really, it's just make sure that they're all tightened up really good. All right, so I'll take it off the tripod and I'll show you what we've done. So we got the belt over this piece. We've tightened this up, put this back in, tried different ways to do it. Again, when you're working on machines, I'm not trained with machines, but this is what we want. See that turning while this goes up and down? That's the whole point of the timing belt, is that when this spins, and it's in time. Now, we'll actually have to time this ourselves to get this to work, because otherwise it's not going to sew correctly. But then up here, I'll tip this up, but you can see this is on and it's all nice and tight. All right, and now the top, this is on, it's all nice and tight. So now that it actually is spinning, we'll work on just oiling this all up, get it running really smooth, and then we'll time it, because I've got to put this piece back in here and do all kind of works like that. But that is how you change a timing belt in an industrial sewing machine. Is it super easy for the novice? No, it is not. If you're a little bit mechanical, can you do it? Absolutely. It just takes a little bit of time. You're going to need some tools. Nothing particularly crazy. I have, just as I might do another thing on just the tools that I've picked up over the years, I have different size screwdrivers, and you're going to need different size screwdrivers to work on a sewing machine. Industrials. See how each one's a little different, because each of these holes and each of the threads and each of the little grooves on a sewing machine, it's different from machine to machine. And you're going to need little hammers like this little 2 ounce I picked up, which is great for stuff like that. And for bigger stuff, I've got a bigger one. And then again, like I showed you, this giant, it's actually kind of crooked, as you can see, but it's fine. It does a job, and it's got a really fat head on it to get to this big screw that's usually on pretty much every Singer. So that's how you change a timing belt on industrial Singer. So there you go. That was kind of an easy job. It's cheaper than going to a mechanic because they're going to charge you like $50 to $80 an hour to do that. And you saw it did take a little bit of time. Probably took me half an hour. In a future episode, I'll show you this machine working and kind of the specialness of the Singer Irish 107-102. But this is pretty universal for every Singer, how to change a timing belt. I hope this was informative for you. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe, comment. Obviously, I had some issues, but everyone has issues when they're working on something like this. Nothing is smooth, especially when you're working with a machine that is, who knows, like 70, 80 years old. Things are going to happen. But I'll see you on the next episode.